Well, a very, very, very happy Tuesday, and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is June 2nd of 2026. I hope everyone is having themselves a good day. I know I am. It's actually the beginning of a lot of summer festivities, especially for the kids. Uh, so if you guys are out there, you know, doing all that stuff. Just be safe. It's heated up, sunscreen, and all that fun stuff. Anyways, I want to wish everyone a happy Lou Gehrig Day. It's a annual Major League Baseball event held today, honoring the legendary Iron Horse and raise awareness for the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis (ALS). I don't know why I can't say that. It began on June 2nd, 1925. Lou Gehrig took over as the baseball's starting first baseman, kicking off his legendary consecutive games played streak. He passed on June 2nd, 1941. 16 years later, Greg passed away from complications of ALS. Across 30 baseball teams, the league participates in several league-wide initiatos to honor his legacy. Players, managers, coaches will wear customs number 4 patches on their uniforms. Commemorative gear also participates wear specials red for ALS wristbands. Awareness events team hosts special pregame ceremonies, partnerships with advocacies, groups like the ALS Association, the Muscular Dystrophy Association, the IMALS to honor patients and fund research. Gehrig's legacy remains an integral part of baseball's history, and he is one of the only 3 players, along with Jackie Robinson and Roberto Clemente, to honor league wide with an annual designated day. So we honor Lou Gehrig Day. I'm sure that the Reds are honoring him as well later on this evening. On today's sports talk, we are going to talk some NFL. We are going to talk about some baseball conversation and the Cincinnati Reds. And we are also going to talk about WWE as Monday Night Raw took place just last night. I want to get things started though with the Blockbuster deal that we heard yesterday. And I love doing a show from noon to 1, but we do miss out on some of the primetime breaking news as we learned about about the trade between the Los Angeles Rams and the Cleveland Browns. Now this initiated, the initial trade was that the Rams would receive edge defender Miles Garrett in return to the Cleveland Browns edge Garrett, and then the Rams will send edge defender Jared Verse, a first round pick of the 2027 draft, a second round pick of the 2028 draft, and the third round pick of the 2029 draft. And I man, um, so I initially saw this and I thought to myself, what is going? I did not anticipate a trade like this. And it kind of came out of nowhere. So I'm trying to kind of analyze this. I'm trying to understand. And the first thing I can honestly understand is let me go back and give you my initial thought. I felt a sigh of relief when it came to the announcement of this deal. The first thing that came to my mind was that, hmm, the Cincinnati Bengals don't have to worry about Miles Garrett whenever they go to face the Browns. That's the initial thought, no? I mean, am I wrong? This guy, this year so far, there has been plenty of worries that the Bengals are going to have to face this year. Trey Hendrickson being the latest, going over to Baltimore in the free agency market. Okay. This was a deal that I may, that there are deals that you anticipate, and there's deals that you don't. Like I anticipated AJ Brown being traded at some point. I was anticipated Trey Hendrickson being signed with the team. Now, I didn't I didn't know what team or who they were going to be traded to or signed with, but the anticipation was there. I did not anticipate Miles Garrett to honestly be traded by the Cleveland Browns. Let's talk about the Browns' perspective for a moment. Okay. This is you are trading away, if not your best defender in all of football, to another league. You are receiving future accommodations and draft picks and a younger, talented but younger edge rusher in Jared Versa. And this all comes after a 2026 draft that includes includes a handful of young offensive talented players. So I guess I just don't understand where this made sense to have. If you're the Rams, this is a clear indication you're all in the upcoming season. It reminds me a lot of this Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff trade done a few years ago when the Rams were all in to get Matthew Stafford so that they can go and run for a Super Bowl. And guess what? They did. Now, what was a lot of speculations that took place after the Rams finally won the Super Bowl? Well, that was it. The Rams were going to disappear into the abyss, and they weren't going to be anyone for the next couple of years because guess what? They traded a lot of their draft picks in the following years. Things have worked out better for them. They've been in playoff contingency. They've been in Super Bowl contingencies in the years past. They won the Super Bowl since picking up Matthew Stafford, but now they are doubling down, saying we are going to bet the next 3 years of our future, which realistically, you're only giving up one draft pick, but you are we want Miles Garrett. We need that key piece to solidify our defense. And so, they've done their due diligence. I hope it works out for the Rams. I know, look, it, for as good as Miles Garrett is, for how bad the Cleveland Browns are, I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's best for both of them to part ways anyways. It, as a Bengals fan, takes a relief off of my shoulders knowing that we don't have to worry about Miles Garrett this year. We won't see them in the schedule. That's one less thing that we have to worry about this season. I still had the Bengals winning both Browns games this year. Now, without Miles Garrett in that lineup, it's almost certain that, just that much more confidence comes into my play that we are going to beat the Browns this year, which, hey, look, we need an extra win, as many wins as possible. But this is a big, big news. If you haven't gotten a chance to read it, it's all over CBS Sports. It's all over NFL.com. It's kind of like the headline this year, this week, as with all the trades that's been going on. But this is a very, very big news for the AFC North, for the Browns, for the Rams, obviously for the Bengals too. I've seen a lot of people already, just that much more confident built in what's going on. So Miles Garrett heads out over to the Rams in that deal. We'll cover more football news and trade deals as time progresses, but we want to move on and provide you an update of the injury with Ellie Dela Cruz. He was removed from Sunday's game, clenching his right hamstring. An MRI has confirmed that he has a grade 1, grade 2 hamstring strain, and he has been placed on the 10-day injured list for the Cincinnati Reds. You know, all I will say is that this is a bummer. Um, I understand the importance Ellie Dela Cruz has and the necessary um requirements to have him in this lineup on a day to day basis. I mean, we are playing barely 500 baseball here lately, and he impacts this team tremendously. So I get it. On the contrary side of things, I say to myself, well, if Terry Francona wasn't going to give him days off like he said he was going to do, and he has not had a day off yet this season, first time yesterday since this season began that he had a day off. Well, now you're forcing the hand. Okay. If you won't give him a day off, he is now going to force you the hand with this injury to give him days off. And I don't want to, I really don't want to, but it's kind of hard not to sit here and say, well, could playing him the way that he's being played, 58 consecutive games to start the season, he's on his 276 consecutive game streak. Could that be leading up to this? I mean, he played with injuries last year, which affected him late in the run. And the last thing we need him to do or need from him is to be out any lengths of time. He's receiving PRP injections for recovery. He's going to get a couple more, reevaluate him in the next week or two. He could be out for 2 to 4 weeks minimum. Okay. The only positive from this injury, other than giving him the rest that he needs, is the fact that it's happening in June. This isn't taking place in September. This isn't taking place when and if we are going to contend for a postseason run. So that's the only good news. Otherwise, I would honestly, when he returns, I would evaluate the situation and honestly figure out what type of schedule works best for him to give him his days off, because he needs days off. Now, for the ball club's organization, and we'll get into it here in a moment, we called up Edwin Arroyo, who's been on fire down in the minor leagues. But last night, without Ellie Dela Cruz, woes continue. Chase Burns, who was originally scheduled to pitch last night, ends up being scratched from the rotation due to an illness. And that forced the Reds to go with the hand of Lyon Richardson. He only went 1 inning, gave up a hit, gave up a grand slam to Lane Thomas in the first inning, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. It wasn't a good day. Ever since then, the Royals never looked back. Blade had a RBI home run, his 10th of the season, but to match that, that was 3 strikeouts. And, we're giving the Royals any ounce of confidence to pick up a series victory by giving them day one. So, with the understanding of, Cruz going down with an injury. Burns on the got scratched from the lineup. I was looking forward to watching Burns last night. It was on Fox TV, but we came up short. 9 runs off 13 hits, no errors for the Royals. Matched up against the 2 runs, 6 hits, and 1 error for the Reds. They picked up the first Royals picked up the first win of this series. They got 2 more after that, and you kind of almost tell yourself now, hey, we have to find a way to play 500 baseball between tonight and tomorrow. And the only way to do that is to win our games tonight and tomorrow. So there's no room for error. If we lose tonight, win tomorrow, win tonight, lose tomorrow, we are at 500, or we'll just be 1 game above 500. Oh, we will be. No, yeah, we'll be at 1 game at 500. I want to stay above 500. This NL Central team is still looking incredible, but that comes down to tonight's ball game and the outcome of that. Tonight's ball game, 7:10 first pitch on Reds TV or WLW 700. The Royals are 23-27. They're still fourth in the American League Central. They'll go up against the 30-29 Cincinnati Reds. They're fifth in the NL Central. The Royals will send out left-handed pitcher Noah Cameron, who's 2 for 4 with a 4.61 ERA. He last pitched on the 27th of May, where he took on the Yankees. He went 5 innings, giving up 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. They'll be sending out left-handed pitcher Andrew Abbott to the mound tonight. 4-3 on the record with the 4.02 ERA. Last pitched on the 27th of May as well in New York against the Mets. He had one of his better outings as he went 6 innings, giving up 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. If Burns is healthy, he may have a slight opportunity to pitch the coming up tomorrow night in the rubber game series, hopefully. If not, I'd honestly expect him to pitch probably by Friday, if not Saturday. Uh, Scratching him, you kind of have to pull somebody through and have an early day. The Reds do have a day off on Thursday to recruit before their 6-game road trip. That includes 3 in St. Louis and 3 in San Diego. Well, since Ellie Cruz went down with an injury, the Cincinnati Reds called up shortstop Edwin Arroyo. He was called up yesterday to replace Ellie Cruz and made his major league debut yesterday. Well, down in AAA, it's been very exciting to watch him play for the Bats, and I'll tell you that. I'll testify to that. He's been making head waves all over the place because in AAA, he's batting 323 with 34 RBIs in just 53 games. He was the player of the month for the month of May, if that's something to tell you. Last night, he had his first major league knock. He went 1 for 4. He scored in a run, but he struck out twice. So, you know, there's a lot of great Reds players in AAA right now. And this was actually a conversation we had about 2 weeks ago. Okay, I remember it. And it talked about, well, we see Marte thriving. Problem is with Marte is that he's thriving in AAA, but when he was up at the major league roster earlier this season, he was playing terribly. So when do you decide that his success at AAA is going to roll over into the major league success? And how many more opportunities are you going to give him? We saw Blade thrive in the minor leagues, and he got called up. We've seen Higgins bounce back and forth because of injuries with Jose Trevino. We've seen Blake Dunn, who was really good, right? In minor leagues, he got called up, and Edwin Arroyo is another name to that list. He is one of the hottest baseball players of all of Cincinnati Reds organizations. But the question was, when was we going to bring him up? Because the only reason we were going to bring him up is if Cruz got hurt. Well, here's that prime example that Cruz got hurt. The only thing we need to see now is this narrative of his success down in AAA get brought up with him, and he finds success at the major league level. And I'm going to be honest with you. If over the next 2 to 4 weeks, we could see Edwin Arroyo really step up and prove himself, it's going to bring some interesting conversations of who we are going to bring down or sent down to the minors when Ellie Dela Cruz is ready to go. It was the same conversation we had about a week ago, and it was a complicated conversation, right? You have several people on the major league roster just not playing their best baseball. What do you do with them? Right? When Suarez was coming back, we were unfortunate enough to see Key Brian Hayes get injured, and he was one of those names considered. Well, injuries helped named that person who was going to get sent down anyways. But will the situation be the same in 2 to 4 weeks when Cruz is back? So if you look at that timetable, 2 to 4 weeks, okay, we are looking at 4th of July. Yes, there's importance to bring him back, and I think there will be a huge importance to bring him back by the beginning of July, right before the All-Star break. But I also don't want to feel like we're rushing him back because we are going to rely on him the back end of the season. So, we're going to see this month. Gino was out in May. We saw how the team performed. Suarez is out in the month of June. We'll see how this team performs. I'm not saying that this offense is completely gone without him, but they're going to have to step up, especially with our ongoing issues out there in the bullpen. If and when he comes back, we may have that conversation of who we want to send down, and if we keep Arroyo up there, possibly transition over to second base a little bit. Think about this for a second, and I'll move on to our next topic. But just imagine we started off Sal Stewart at first, Matt McLean at second, Ellie Dela Cruz at short, and Key Brian Hayes at third. That's how we began the season. And Nathaniel Lowe and Gino was playing backup to first and third. Well, since then, you have Nathaniel Lowe, who's taken a lot of primarily positions at first, along with Spencer Steer and Sal Stewart. You have Matt McLean and Sal Stewart at second. Then you have Sal Stewart and now Gino at third. This infield has changed, and it was a solid infield to begin the season. A lot has changed since then. Remember when we were talking about how good Matt McLean was this spring training, and now we're ready to send him down and cut ties? So there is a lot to configure, and we're putting all the pieces together, and we're just waiting for the right thing to mix and gel together. Let's take a look at the NL Central. What took place yesterday? The Milwaukee Brewers put up 16 runs without recording a home run in yesterday's victory. Final score 16-2 over the Giants. Also in yesterday's action, the Texas Rangers beat the St. Louis Cardinals on the road 2-1. Yelich in the Milwaukee game went 3 for 5. 5 additional Brewers had recorded 2 hits to their game, as they recorded a total 18 hits to their victory. McGreevy pitched 6 innings, giving up 5 hits and 2 runs for the Cardinals. Tonight, the entire NL Central is back in action. Leading things off at 7-10 will be the Royals and Reds. At 7:40, the Giants and Milwaukee in game 2. In game 2, the 7:45 first pitch, the Rangers and Cardinals. And beginning their 3-game series at 8:05, we'll see the Athletics and Cubs, followed by 8:10 Pirates and Astros. You get all your information by visiting MLB.com. Alrighty, it has officially been open between now and next. What do you say? Is it this next Friday? Next Friday, where the Cincinnati or season ticket holders can vote on your 2026 Bengals Ring of Honor nominees. So I kind of want to run through the nominees overall and then give you my opinion. Now, this is only my suggestion on who I think we people who are allowed to vote should vote. I'm not one of those people, but there is a part of me that, after hearing people, after getting a chance to see some of the responses and take a look at this list, I have to, I have my own take. So I'm going to share that with you. So first, let's take a look at who do we have in the upcoming ballot. It's going to take a minute. I'm going to go through everyone in kind of a brief resume. You get this information by going to Bengals.com/news/Bengals 2026 ring of honor ballot overview. You can just find it on the Bengals website. But we start off with the defensive tackle Geno Atkins, who was a Bengals from 2010 to 2020. He's 6'1", 300 pounds, redefined the defensive tackle position in an unblockable brew of speed and strength. 75.5 career sacks, led all NFL defensive tackles in a decade of the 2010s. He's an 8-time Pro Bowl, most ever by a Bengals defender. Atkins was also named two All-Pro teams while racking up the third most in sacks club in history. According to Pro Football Reference, Atkins also led the defensive tackles in quarterback hits during the 2010s with 172. We also got Jim Breach, who played for the Bengals from 1980 to 1992. The only 1,000-point scorer in Bengals history. His 9-for-9 effort overtime defined a career in a clutch. Overtime winner on the last snap of the 1988 regular season gave the Bengals home field advantage on the way to Super Bowl 23. That's where his 40-yarder with 3:20 left in the game, a 16-13 lead, as third leading scorer in the NFL in 1981. Breach helped get them to their first Super Bowl and finished in the 1980s as the NFL's fifth leading scorer. We got halfback James Brooke, played for the Bengals 1984 to 1991. He's a modern day marvel who a rival of such versatile late 20th century, early 21st century running backs as Marshall Faulk and Christian McCaffrey. Burks was a centerpiece of the Bengals head coach Sam Wyche's no-huddle offense. He still reigns the Bengals' second-time all-leader rusher with 6,447 yards, while his 297 catches are the second most by a running back in franchise history. The 3-time 1,000-yard rusher, he also had 4 40-catch seasons, and his 4 Pro Bowls match only Corey Dillon for most Bengals running back. We also got wide receiver Chris Collinsworth, who played for the Bengals 1981 to 1988. Collinsworth became the franchise first 1,000-yard receiver in an unforgettable rookie year in 1981 that helped the Bengals get their first Super Bowl. His 1,000-yard season translated into 3 Pro Bowls. His last career catch converted 3rd and 8 on a drive. The Bengals took a 6-3 lead midway through the third quarter of their second Super Bowl before he became one of the NFL's greatest analysts ever to almost half as many Emmys, which is 17, compared to touchdowns at 36. We also got defensive end Carlos Dunlap from 2010 to 2020. Slippery force on the edge. Dunlap, 82.5 sacks is the most by Bengals at Paycor Stadium era. And sacks away from Eddie Edwards' franchise record. He made his presence known, setting the Bengals rookie sack record with 9 in 2010, then took the club record with 13.5 in 2015 before it was broken. He had the fourth most sacks in a decade among NFL defensive ends, with a signature game coming when he hit Russell Wilson 6 times and sacked him 1.5 as eventual AFC North champs went 5-0 with an OT win over Seattle in 2015. Dunlap also was a 2-time Bengals Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year nominee. We got safety David Fulcher, revolutionary chess piece on the defensive side of the ball, played for the Bengals from 1986 to 1992. Fulcher tackled like a linebacker and roamed center field like a 3-time Pro Bowler. He was with 31 interceptions, the most ever by a Bengals safety, and third most among NFL safeties in that same stretch, behind only Ronnie Lott's 34 and Joey Browner's 32. When Bengals defensive coordinator Dick LeBaron came up with the same change zone blitz scheme, the original call was Fulcher to stay. He had a pair of hat trick games with 3 picks plus 6 career interceptions in the old AFC Central's most heated rivalry against the Houston Oilers. We also got A.J. Green, played for the Bengals from 2011 to 2020. Silky smooth with moves as classy as his leadership. Green became the first wide receiver in NFL history named to the Pro Bowl. In his first 7 seasons with the stretch, he racked up fourth for most yards in the NFL. After the Bengals made him the 4th pick of the 2011 draft, he became the face of 5 straight playoff berths in his career that featured dominating AFC performance, late catches, felled with Steelers in 2012 and 2015 playoff runs. He had 9 touchdowns against the Ravens and 400-yard games against the Browns, despite missing nearly 2 full seasons because of injuries. His 9,430 yards and 65 touchdowns are second only to Chad Johnson in Bengals history. We got cornerback Leon Hall, played for the Bengals from 2007 to 2015. A versatile cover man who roamed almost invisibly between the outside and the slots. He played in 121 games, most by the Bengals cornerback this century, and third all time, despite missing 23 games with a pair of torn Achilles. His 26 interceptions hold the same position in the record books during the run that saw him named co-team MVP with quarterback Jonathan Joseph in the 2009 AFC North sweep generated by the NFL's 4th-ranked defense. That's the year he had 24 passes defended to go with his 6 picks. After a season, he led the NFL with 24 defended passes. From 2007 to 2012, Hall defended 90 passes, 3rd best in the league. We got guard Max Montoya, who guarded for the Bengals back from 1979 to 1989. Montoya is regarded as the greatest guard in Bengals history, as a 3-time Pro Bowler and one of the best right guards in the game during the 2 Super Bowl runs. He anchored the NFL's 2nd-ranked offense that went to the Super Bowl, and his O-line paved the way for the next year's Super Bowl when the Bengals running game kept the ball for 39 minutes in the 1988 AFC title game win over Buffalo. Along with the Pro Bowl Hall of Fame left tackle Anthony Munoz, he is the only man to protect both Bengals NFL MVPs Ken Anderson and Boomer Esiason. We got tight end Bob Trumpy from 1968 to 1977. A giant on the field and in front of the camera, Trumpy was the only Bengal to be named to multiple Pro Bowls in both the AFL and NFL before going to the Pro Bowl Hall of Fame in 2014. As the Pete Rozelle Radio and Television Award winner, a round 12 pick who became a key instrument as the Bengals brain trust of Paul Brown and Bill Walsh evolved the modern pass game. His 22.6 yards per catch in 1969 is the second longest for an NFL tight end in a season and the second longest for any receiver in franchise history. He announced 4 Super Bowls, 4 Pro Bowls, and 6 Hall of Fame games. Then we have left tackle Andrew Whitworth from 2006 to 2016, captain 6 TNC playoff teams while being named 3 Pro Bowls. Featured accomplished at Bengals tackle only by Ring of Honor members Anthony Munoz and Willie Anderson. Montreal 6'7", 330 pounds, who combined girth, geometry, and dominated the trenches. He had pro football focus lowest pressure rate among all NFL tackles during the 2010, and that include the history-making 2014 season. He protected Andy Dalton 613 times and allowed 10 pressures and no sacks. With 168, he played the most Bengals games by an offensive player at Paycor era. Whitworth was almost a multi-time Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year nominee. Last but not least, we got linebacker Reggie Williams, who was a Bengal from 1976 to 1989. The most prolific tackler and linebacker in franchise history. Williams grazed the cover of Sports Illustrated Co-Sportsman of the Year issue in 1987. After a year being named NFL Man of the Year, he was most games of 206, most sacks of 62.5, and most interceptions of 16 of all Bengals backers. Williams led the Bengals defense to a Super Bowl with a team high of 11 sacks and had the second most tackles in 106. 7 years later, in Super Bowl 23, he had a team high of 10 tackles and a sack while serving as Cincinnati City's councilman. That is your nominees to have to look through. Very historical. And I'm going to tell you right now, I personally believe that every man should be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, this year, only 2 are allowed to be in. Okay? Out of those 2, one of them has to be from the previous ballot. So, and I believe, and don't get, hate me if I'm wrong, Geno Atkins was in this year. We saw Carlos Dunlap this year. We saw AJ Green this year. We saw, I think, Leon Hall this year and Andrew Whitworth this year. 5 Bengals added this year. One of them is allowed to be voted in. Don't get me wrong, all 5 of them should be voted in. But for concluding this year's ballot, starting next year, only 1 player would be allowed. So, with all due respect, I think whoever is allowed to vote this year for the ballot of the Ring of Honor for the Bengals, they should focus on who was on the ballot prior to that. Reggie Williams, Bob Trumpy, Max Montoya, David Fulcher, Chris Collinsworth, James Brooks, Jim Breach as well, and focus on getting those 2 guys, one of those 2 guys, both of 2 of those guys in the Hall of Fame. So ask me, Well, Justin, what would you do if you got a voting ticket? Who would you vote for? First of all, David Vulture is one of them. Is the one to me. Got a chance to speak with him. I think David Vulture. I think David Vulture to me, you see him a lot around Cincinnati. He's given a lot back to the community. He's doing tremendous work, and he's never afraid to have those conversations with football fans, for Cincinnati fans. If you met him on the street walking through Kroger, you could just walk right up to him, have that conversation, and he'll welcome you in open arms. I'm not saying none of these other people don't do it, but to me, he's warm, he's inviting, he's full of energy. He's a great person to associate with. I love David Fulcher. And by the way, this is a difficult decision because like Chris Collinsworth, not more than likely as a Bengals unless you grew up in the '80s. You know him as a analyst on TV for all these years. But then if you ask me for the second person, I have to go with Bob Trumpy. That is just me, another person on and off the field that can, he's a big advocate to the game. So those would be the two guys I would personally nominate. As much as I think AJ Green, Carlos Dunlap, Andrew Whitworth, these are all great guys that should go in and they will go in. I disagree with how the Bengals are trying to cut from two ballot Hall of Famers down to one. I think that two should be standard, and everyone honestly, it's kind of hard to pick the first time ballot Hall of Famers, but because of next year going down to one, I really do believe that the Bengals Bengals voters should focus on the previous ballots Hall of Fames that are repeated. So, who would you choose as a Hall of Fame um, in this year's Ring of Honor for the Bengals? In other NFL news, we saw earlier yesterday that A.J. Brown was traded to the New England Patriots for a first round pick of the 2028 draft and for a fifth round pick of the 2027 draft. This was one of the trades that you were maybe anticipating heading deeper into this year. It was only a matter of when and what team stand across to be able to trade for uh, AJ Brown. Look, this was an ongoing situation for the Eagles last year. I think it kind of got a little too far than anticipated. I don't know if it really affected them going to the Super Bowl or whatnot, but this was at one point you figured, hey, this is going to be an impasse, and they finally traded him. New England. It seems like AJ Brown was already in New England dealing with that, dealing with the Patriots. So, just glad that we kind of could get this out of the way with moving forward. Also, you'll see the New York Giants have decided to reunite with Odell Beckham Jr. As they signed a deal. Um, I don't know what's left in the tank for Odell Beckham. You know, I think it's great, on a more emotional standpoint. Odell Beckham going back to the team that he started his career off with, and I'm fine with that. But that's we'll see how far he'll get into the season and if he plays any contributions for the organization. Also, last but not least, the Stanley Cup Finals begin tonight. Game one of a best of seven game series. Puck drops at 8 p.m. It's available on ABC as the Las Vegas Golden Knights take on the Carolina Hurricanes. This one here, I'm going to say, look, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about you, but these two teams are really, it's going to be a shootout. They really have great, they have great stuff going on. Very excited for what they're able to bring to the table. So I am definitely excited to see this game, this series between two of them. So, um, but Stanley Cup Finals, who do you have winning? I want to go with the Golden Knights, but I feel like I mean, they went 4-0 in their last setting. I just feel like I honestly just feel like the Hurricanes could make their way. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. All right. Well, we have WWE Raw that took place last night, and we're gonna go do our best to cover that with all the static that we get, the interference. Raw was, if you watched Raw last night, it took place in Turin, Italy, at the Inalpi Arena, the same venue as Clash of Italy over the weekend. And I Raw was, here's a couple things that we looked forward to. One, we wanted to hear from two people. One was from Sol Ruka, who just won the Intercontinental Champion. And for one thing I didn't know was that she is the first black woman to win the Women's Intercontinental Champion. And then I wanted to see the aftermath of Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns. So on Raw, we did see Fatu acknowledge Roman Reigns. We'll get into that. We saw Obafemi win his fatal four-way match to advance in the King of the Ring tournament. We saw Io Sky win her fatal four-way match to advance in the King of the Ring tournament. And we also saw Seth Rollins defeat Braun Breaker in singles competition. So I've been thinking about this all morning. Obafemi defeats Solo Sikoa, Carmelo Hayes, and Penta in a fatal four-way match to advance in the King of the Ring tournament. Okay? So, and I'm just like, well, duh. Like, literally, what did you else expect? Obafemi just came off of a loss the night prior against Brock Lesnar. He's been ensuring his dominance among the WWE universe all year in 2026. And he is, who else? When you match any of his opponents up last night, what else do you think was going to happen? He was going to lose? As a matter of fact, if you look at the entire bracket, Obafemi, he's up here. His bar's at a 10. His bar's at 100. Okay. Everyone else is at the bottom. Who in this entire tournament can go, honestly, toe to toe with Obafemi based off of what we've seen? And the answer is nobody. So let me just, if there's anybody that's capable of going to toe with Obafemi, it's could be Braun Breaker. Sure. Could it be Royce Keys? Probably. These are two guys that I would love to see go toe to toe with Obafemi in the future. But Royce Keys, I still think he's too new with the company. I still think that he has some ways to go and some things to improve on, and he's dealing with this stuff with MFT. So I'm not aligning Royce Keys just yet. Braun Breaker kind of. I saw a report saying that Braun Breaker could be hurt. I don't know to what truth that really brings everybody. If he, hopefully, he's not. If so, then we have to. I think we have a bigger problem on our pitcher, and right, and that is Braun Breaker staying healthy. But there's just nobody on this men's King of the Ring tournament that could probably go toe to toe with Obafemi. And the best chance was a fatal four way where even when you saw Solo Sikoa, who had the MFTs, come out and try to take out Obafemi, he came back bigger, badder, and powerful. So how can you not instantly say that Obafemi is destined to win the King of the Ring tournament? The only thing to me that stops him from winning this tournament is what he said last night. When he responds to Brock Lesnar about, well, how does Oba respond to getting beat? How does Oba respond to getting his butt whooped? To how Oba responds for being down? Well, last night he showed it. He showed up on Raw. He took on not one, not two, but three men, and he started to thrive in dominance again. That's how he responded. And based off of his response last night, I think there's a clear indication that there is a Brock and Oba part 2. And it's going to happen within the next 60 to 90 days. The indications direct me to indicate that Brock and Oba part 2 is a SummerSlam match. But in order to get there, here's my speculations. Oba right now can beat anyone in that tournament, hands down, especially in one-on-one competition. So we have to find a way for Oba to lose the match. What if Oba gets to Saudi Arabia, gets to Night of Champion, and loses that match at the expense of Brock Lesnar? See, that takes place at the end of June. Nothing much more needs to be said. Between June and August 1st, you get that match number 3. It's just speculation, but I feel like that's where a lot of this plays into effect. If not, Oba wins the tournament. Oba goes on to challenge a champion. And I don't know if the WWE is ready to make that move. Okay. But that, for me, that's the only thing that logistically makes sense when it comes down to how this plays out. On the other end, we saw Io Sky advance in the Queen of the Ring tournament. She gone on to beat Julia, Roxanne Perez, and Lash Legend. To me, I like Io Sky. Nothing wrong against her. But for me, I guess there's something that holds me back from being that all-in support of an Io Sky. She's definitely deserved it. No questions asked. But I feel like there's something that just gets in the way. I wanted to also talk about Seth Rollins beating Braun Breaker. Now, both men are scheduled to be in this tournament, and in this King of the Ring tournament. Not so much Seth Rollins beating Braun Breaker, but it was how he beat Braun Breaker. And there was an incident last night where Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman have an altercation at ringside. Braun Breaker is full speed ahead and ends up not spearing Seth Rollins, but ends up spearing Paul Heyman through the barricade. And I think of this that Seth Rollins was able to capitalize and was able to pick up the victory. Now, what highlights this for me is Seth Rollins lost to Braun Breaker back at WWE Backlash. And Braun Breaker, or not Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins admits on the after show that he is going to have to adapt and change. That he's not the same person he was 10, 15 years ago, and that he's going to have to make adjustments in order to stay relevant and find ways to win matches when it comes to the current roster and superstar, to stay relevant in the WWE. And last night was, I think, a clear indication of Seth Rollins making that adaptation. You see, he recognized his surroundings when he got into the altercation with Paul Heyman. He saw in his peripheral vision that Braun Breaker was coming full speed, and instead of taking a spear through the barricade, which would have lost him the match, he pulled Paul Heyman in front of him, costing Braun to spear Paul through the barricade. A mistake that Seth was able to capitalize, hit the curb stomp, and win. Now, maybe this is just a knockoff, but it's something that really highlights to me that Seth Rollins was able to adapt and make changes. That is what a strong, talented. You don't have to be physically inclined in the ring. You have to outsmart your opponent. Seth Rollins outsmart Braun Breaker yesterday on Raw to pick up his victory. And I anticipate to see more to come in the upcoming future. So, how did you think Raw was last night overall? What was your favorite moments? I will save Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns conversation for tomorrow because I don't have much time here left on our program. And we will talk about that tomorrow. What did you think of the Miles Garrett trade? Was that your number one? So what so far this year? What has been your number one, your blockbuster, your mega deal in the NFL? Was it Trey Hendrickson going to Baltimore? Was it the Fernando Mendoza getting signed with the Las Vegas Raiders? Was it Dexter Lawrence going over to the Bengals for the Giants 10th round for a 10th round pick? Or was it could have been Odell Beckham going back to the Giants or Miles Garrett going to the Rams? To me, that has it number one. So let me know. We'll talk about that tomorrow a little bit, maybe later on this week. We got a lot more to get to. It's only a Tuesday. I want to appreciate it for everyone for tuning in. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out a lot. You can check out our other videos on our TNC Sports Talk. I got our Road to the Show series coming up your way here soon. I got working on franchise mode where the Reds take on the Royals here this week. Also, you can follow us on our social media page. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Also, you could download this podcast and take us on the road wherever you go, but on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker. All that helps. Please listen to us so you don't miss a single episode. That is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning into the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin, and we will see you guys tomorrow at noon. Have a good one.